Some folks who seem like they're falling behind in their 20s often turn out to be the ones everybody looks up to and learns from by the time they're in their 40s. I'm talking about those people who can't pretend to be someone they're not for very long. They can chat about everyday stuff, but it feels awkward, like putting on a coat that belongs to somebody else. They're the ones who hear you're really smart all the time, yet deep down they still feel like they're not good at just being a regular person. They don't hang out in big groups. They don't follow the usual plan that everyone else seems to copy. They're the friend who goes quiet and vanishes for a bit. Not because they don't like you, but because everything going on inside their head is so intense and they need to stay true to themselves. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've seen people your own age checking off big life goals super fast, like they're trying to beat a video game record, getting ahead in their jobs, finding serious relationships, building a fun social circle, acting super confident, and knowing exactly what they want. Meanwhile, you're moving at a much slower pace, trying to understand why achievements feel empty and fake when they don't really match who you are inside. The confusing thing is, you're not sitting around doing nothing. You're thinking deeply, you're feeling everything strongly, you're working through tough stuff, and you're quietly putting yourself back together. Then you wonder why nobody cheers for the hard work you're doing on the inside. Here's the real struggle that hardly anyone talks about openly. If your personality is uncommon, the world around you probably wasn't designed with you in mind. When you're different like that, people usually get you wrong before they ever get you right. Growing up, the system rewards kids who adapt quickly, pick a part to play, do it well, blend in, follow the rules, and make yourself helpful to others. But some of us aren't wired to be helpful first. We're wired to become our true selves first. Carl Jung, that famous Swiss psychologist who pretty much invented the way we talk about our inner lives today, and his ideas still wake people up, described this journey called individuation. It's the long, slow road to turning into the person you're really meant to be, instead of the version your parents, society, or your own fears pushed you to become. Jung didn't treat the human soul like some fluffy idea. He saw it as a powerful force inside us that fights back if we try to ignore it. This process of individuation comes with a price in the beginning because it makes you fit in less with everybody else. If you're the kind of person who picks up on things nobody says out loud, like hidden power plays, fake politeness, or that pressure to always say the correct thing, then you also notice that people expect you to give up honesty just to feel like you belong. When you refuse to make that deal, folks start seeing you as complicated, too serious, overly emotional, distant, or even arrogant, even though all you're doing is trying to stay genuine. So you end up creating a persona, which is the word Jung used for the face we show the world to get by. Having a persona isn't the problem. The problem is when you start living completely inside it. If your personality is unusual, that persona usually ends up super smooth and perfect because you've spent your whole life translating yourself for other people. You get really good at appearing okay on the outside while feeling totally fake on the inside. That leads to a special kind of tiredness. Not the usual exhaustion from a busy job, but exhaustion from acting like a version of yourself that doesn't line up with who you really are. And here's the tricky part that trips a lot of people up. Getting praise and success early on can actually become a trap for someone like this. If you're rewarded for wearing the mask, good grades, compliments, attention, being the steady one or the talented one, you might build your whole sense of who you are around whatever gets approval from others. Then one day, your body and mind start pushing back. You get hit with sudden anxiety. You lose your drive. You feel empty or antsy, like you're throwing your life away even when everything looks fine on paper. That's not you being broken. That's your deeper self demanding a more honest way of living. Let me ask you something personal. If it lands for you, drop it in the comments so you know others feel the same. Had you ever had a life that seems perfectly okay on the surface, but inside you're quietly desperate for a completely different path? Because that late blooming doesn't happen by accident or luck, it comes from a secret kind of work. And that work is this: you're not supposed to get great at playing the world's game first, you're supposed to get great at understanding yourself first. That's inconvenient for everyone around you because the early part of life is basically one giant tryout. Families like the version of you that keeps everything calm and steady. Schools like the version that gives the expected answers. Jobs like the version that matches the company vibe. Friend groups like the version that keeps things fun, easy, and drama-free. But for someone with a less common personality, the kind Jung described through individuation, real peace doesn't come from blending in, it comes from lining up with your own truth. That changes the whole game because it makes you pay attention to what you've been doing to feel loved, the roles you played, the masks you've perfected, and the pieces of yourself you've hidden because they weren't easy for others. Jung's huge idea here is that your mind isn't just the stuff you're aware of every day. There's also the personal unconscious, all the memories and traits you pushed down because they weren't allowed. And then there's an even deeper level, he called the collective unconscious, full of patterns that humans have repeated forever. It sounds mysterious, but it shows up in ordinary ways. You keep picking the same type of partner. You keep falling into the same kind of job. You keep having the same internal fight on repeat, like your life is stuck in a loop. But that loop isn't punishment, it's your lesson plan. And the toughest class in that plan is the shadow, all the parts of yourself you kicked out to survive, not evil parts, just the ones you had to hide. The anger you were taught to stuff down, the drive that made others uneasy, the gentleness that didn't feel safe to show, the strength that got shut down. Even the deep feelings that got called too much. When you're younger, you can get by just fine by burying those parts and relying on your persona. You can even accomplish a lot that way, but it costs you. You end up living only half a life. That's why the rejection often hits early. When you stop living half a life, you become harder to predict. And most people love predictability. It makes them feel secure. Someone uncommon starts questioning things that everyone else accepts as normal. They don't just ask, how do I succeed? They ask, who am I turning into while I chase success? That second question can make others uncomfortable, not because you did anything wrong, but because you're accidentally showing them a reflection they don't want to see. In today's psychology, this shows up as a conflict between what you need inside and the approval you get from outside. One big theory says we all need three things to feel truly alive: freedom to choose our own path, a sense of skill and growth, and real connection with others. People who bloom later tend to put freedom and meaning first, while the world keeps pushing connection and status. If you chase fitting in by going against yourself, your mind and body send warning signs: anxiety, feeling numb, putting things off that isn't really laziness. It's your quiet rebellion against a life that doesn't feel true. Your early relationships play a part too. If you grew up having to earn affection by being the good child, the high achiever, the one who kept the peace, you might become super tuned in to how others are feeling. That makes you amazing at reading people, but awful at noticing what you actually need. The secret work then becomes reparenting yourself, learning that love doesn't mean you have to erase parts of who you are. From a spiritual angle, this is the testing period. Different traditions give it different names: the dark night of the soul, the journey downward, the time in the wilderness. It's the stretch where your old way of being stops working, but the new one isn't ready yet. To outsiders, it looks like you're stuck or delayed. From the inside, it's active building. True awareness doesn't show up as non-stop happiness, it shows up as brutal honesty. The second you quit lying to yourself, everything in your life starts shifting. That shift might mean losing some friends, walking away from certain roads and letting go of old ideas of success. But later, it brings back something far better, a life that actually feels like it belongs to you. So when you use your younger years doing this deep inner work, whether you call it therapy, healing, awakening, self-reflection, or just finally being real with yourself, you're laying groundwork that most folks put off until life forces them to face it. You're creating a strong base inside. And bases don't look exciting while you're pouring the concrete. They look quiet, slow, like nothing much is going on. Meanwhile, somebody else is putting up pretty walls on shaky ground and getting all the likes and praise. But your mind keeps track. Jung's main point about individuation is that becoming whole gives you real energy. Not loud, flashy energy, but steady, clear power. When the split-off parts of you stop battling each other and finally come back home, you stop wasting strength on worry, trying to make everyone happy, overanalyzing and selling yourself out. That saved-up power turns into real forward motion. You get steady without pushing yourself non-stop. You make choices without needing the whole world to agree. You start deciding from a place of self-respect instead of fear. That's where the pull comes in later on. People think magnetism is just confidence. It's not. It's when everything lines up, your words match what's in your eyes, your actions match what you truly believe, and your boundaries match how much you value yourself. You stop acting nice and start living truthfully. That vibe is something others feel. You can walk into a space without begging to be welcomed. And funny enough, that's exactly when people start welcoming you. One more surprise, getting pushed away early teaches you who and what is worth your time. When you've been misunderstood a lot, you quit chasing big crowds. You start creating your circle around deep, real connections instead of shallow approval. You stop needing everybody to like you because you've already made it through times when they didn't. That sets you free emotionally. And people who are emotionally free usually end up doing well. They take bolder, smarter chances. They build things. They come up with new ideas. They don't collapse every time someone disagrees. So how do you stop spending years trying to force yourself into someone else's faster schedule? First, quit measuring your progress by everybody else's big moments that just turns into self-criticism pretending to be drive. Second, treat your deep feelings like useful information, not a weakness. If your gut says no to a direction, pay attention. Third, shape your days around what actually energizes you, not what you think you should be doing. People like this don't succeed by working harder than everyone else. They succeed by going deeper into who they really are. And here's the hands-on advice nobody says plainly. Choose one main place to put your talents. A skill, a project, a practice, a direction you can commit to for a couple years without needing quick results or proof. Your later growth needs steady effort, more than bursts of hard work. Let it feel ordinary sometimes. Let it take time. That's how strong roots form. If you've ever felt like you're on your own unique schedule compared to the rest of the world, what's one thing you wish others really got about you? But you hardly ever say it out loud. Share it in the comments. You might write the exact words somebody else has been waiting to hear. And if this spoke to you or helped you make peace with your own path, come join us at Fractal Wisdom. We're creating a community here for thoughtful people with kind hearts who want honest growth. No faking it, no putting on a show. Your pace isn't broken, it's simply your own.